A very pleasant good afternoon and welcome to the afternoon rush. It is the rush, and Randolph Critchlow is here with you. I want to thank you very much for joining me this afternoon. It is a lovely Tuesday afternoon in Guyana. It is the 27th of April 2021, and we continue to bring you the credible and valid information here on the rush. As we normally do, let us know where you're joining us from in the comment section. Hit us up, let us know where you're coming from, and we'll give you a shout out as we normally do. In this introductory period where we start the show, we like to give our viewers an opportunity to say where you're viewing us from this afternoon. Show us the love. We show you the love. Let us know where you're joining us from this good afternoon. Good afternoon to every single one internationally in the region and right here in Guyana. We have a packed program for you this afternoon. We'll be joined a little later on by His Worship, Hugh Brajner, right, the Mayor of Georgetown, to discuss what is happening in the city of No. We know a lot has been happening, a lot of court battles, back and forth with central governments. We'll be joined by him in a little bit to discuss that. Of course, we're going to talk about the protests that happened today in front of GPL. GPL workers coming out and protesting. Interestingly, we have some bits of information that is probably not going to shock you because, it seems par for the course right now with this PPP government. And then, of course, in our story behind the story later on, we are going to be looking at this push to legalize marijuana and ask a few interesting questions as we see more and more resources in Guyana being directed to policing and penalizing persons for the not only the use but the possession of marijuana. So we're going to ask some questions as it relates to the legalization of marijuana a little down in our story behind the story. But right now, let me give a shout out to the people who have been commenting. Maryland is in the house. Berbice is in the house. Thank you very much for joining us. For those persons who are watching us on YouTube, thank you very much for joining the broadcast and looking at us there. Remember, we are also live on YouTube for those persons who like to watch us on that platform. As I said, we'll be joined by His Worship Hugh Brajner, the Mayor of Georgetown, in just a bit. As we get through the formalities of the beginning of the show, again, let me say, yes, Ms. Barker, we're in a rush. We seem as though we're in a rush this afternoon, but you're locked on to the rush every afternoon, bringing you the credible and valid information, loud and clear from Canada. Thank you very much for joining us from the UK, Atlanta. Atlanta. I always associate these US states and cities with their basketball teams. So when I say Atlanta, the Atlanta Hawks. Y'all got Lou Williams the other day, but can't say much about y'all. Welcome, Queens, New York. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much. Pleasant is in the house. Thank you very much for tuning in. Folks, let me just share the live stream a few more places before we get started officially with the show. We know we like to allow everyone to come in and be a part of the broadcast. So allow me to do that before we start this afternoon on afternoon rush. Let me just share a few more places. I know we're eager to get started with the show, but we want to ensure that more persons are a part of the afternoon rush. So give me a few seconds. Let me just share that. As we welcome in the mayor backstage. The mayor is already backstage. He is waiting to come on the show. We'll get to a discussion with him in just a few seconds. Again, East Bank is in the house. New Jersey is in the house. Trinidad and Tobago is in the house. Barbados, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Essequibo too, Randy. Yep, of course. We're not going to forget. I was in Essequibo this weekend. Region 2 is such a beautiful place. Thank you very much for joining us from Essequibo there. Let me just share a few more places. We like to ensure that everyone is part of what we're doing here. One. That's a few more places to go. Yes. And once we finish sharing, we ask that you do the same thing too. Folks, let's unpack some issues. It's been 260 8 days since this fraudulent administration has been installed. It has been 421 days since the March 2nd regional and general election, and of course, we still do not have credible results from those elections. Sad to say, but that is the situation in our country at the moment. We are saddled with a fraudulent administration. Right. Chicago, let me give a few more shout outs. Florida is in the house. Chicago, Georgetown, of course, our people right here in Georgetown. Canada, again, Antigua is in the house. Watching from Turkheim, North Runville, last entrance. Thank you very much. Our North Runville people, thank you very much. Folks, let's go to what is in the news. Let's go to what is in the news. Our first story that we want to tackle this afternoon. And again, remember, as you come in, share the live stream, share the live stream, share the live stream. Washington, D.C. in the house. Thank you very much. Folks, this afternoon, as we touch on what is in the news, I want to bring this interesting story to you. Now, and this will be picking this up from our friends at Village Voice, of course. They're printing now on Sundays. You can get your copy of the Village Voice and show you pick that up. Right. And I like how they start the story. This is while the unproductive sugar industry to receive 200 million. Right. There's still a lack of funding and aid. Right. Lack of funding aiding the spread of COVID-19 and the pileup of garbage. Georgetown Mayor Hugh Ryan requested immediate financial assistance from central government due to the municipality's non-receipt of budgetary subventions pegged at $10 million in 2020, $30 million in 2021. Folks, if it is one thing that signals a return of the PPP, it is garbage in the city. And I don't think people understand how the relationship between central government and the city works. Unfortunately, and I say unfortunately because I know that persons will say that, look, the city needs to find ways to fund themselves and generate funds. But unfortunately, it is a long established norm that subventions are given to these municipalities to help do their work. And it seems to be a trend that when the PPP government is in place, they tend to want to stymie and stifle the work of those municipalities that are not under their control. I will say that. I wouldn't say more. I'll allow the mayor, his worship, who will join me now to let us discuss what is happening here in the city. Mayor, welcome to the show, your worship.
Thank you very much, Comrade Crichilo, and the viewers out there. A special good afternoon to you.
Right. Thank you very much for joining. As I introed just now, it seems to be just by the eye test, by looking and observing what the actions are of the PPP government, we see this clear attempt, in my view, to try and stymie the work of the city council. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what has been happening there, especially relating to this story in terms of the monies that are normally given to the city as subvention by the government?
All right, let me clear up one thing for the
Mm-hmm.
viewers and the public out there. The city, this is our city of our country,
Mm-hmm.
and that press release I issued yesterday, it's about the subvention which was allocated to the mayor and city council, 10 million Guyana dollars in 2020 and 30 million in 2021 subvention to the mayor and city council. However, the $10 million, the council gave approval to um, buy two garbage compactor, one for Kitty Market and one for East Rumfeld Market. All document was submitted to the ministry by the town clerk, uh, subject to approval of by the council. The town clerk did the letter, sent it over. No response. I did it. A next letter. I did a next letter. Wrote a next letter to the minister, attach those copies asking about the 10 million Guyana dollars in 2020. However, no answers given to us. The 30 million Guyana dollars for 2021, when I met with His Excellency, the President, I said, look, we have to get City Hall building restore. City Hall building is falling apart. However, the administration building, the steel frame or the structure has been completed. However, we need some additional money to finish that administration building because many people is not aware that City Hall building, being in that condition, have been housing over 50 staff of the Mayor City Council, including the town clerk's office and secretariat and the treasury department. We want to get City Hall building refurbish, restore. But first phase, we have to complete the administration building so that the staff can able to move to that building, so works can commence on the city hall building. So $50 million from the council coffers. We have that 50 million with the government subvention. 30 million will equal 80 million Guyana dollars. That will not able to complete the entire administration building, but a part of it, so the staff can able to move over there. The 30 million is yet to come over to the main city council so that we can put out the tender out there, so that everything can happen in transparency, and so on can take precedence in
Yeah.
the spending of monies, um, infrastructural work. Nothing is coming forward from the ministry. We met with the minister, the Honorable Minister Dharmalal, and nothing is coming forward. I penned several letters to him, and I'm not seeing anything. And also to add that, I indeed make mention the city continues to suffer by the hands of the central government. The city is the hub of this entire nation, and people must understand this. The hub, if Georgetown tells to close down, the entire Guyana will be suffering or starving. Now, I heard you make mention that subvention government give us chicken feed. I will say
Mm,
chicken feed. But there's an act which I like to bring to the attention of the public. This act called Fiscal Transfer Act, Chapter 7307. Get a copy of this act, number 16 of 2013. I want you to get a copy of this act. You will see in this act here, have something called treatment of Georgetown. Let me get it clear for you. This here is the amount of money the city ought to receive from government. If you see highlighted there, treatment of George, the city, Georgetown City Council. This act, many people is not aware of this act. I don't know if the Attorney General is aware of this act. But this act, we ought to receive in the city closely to 700 to 800 million Guyana dollars per year as
mm.
subvention parliament supposed to allocate to this city. We don't even receive that. We receive chicken feed. A couple
What
millions we receive.
what is the level of the subvention as it is right now, Your Worship?
Well, we only received 10 million for 2020, and now they budgeted 30 million for 2021.
Okay.
Comparing the coalition used to give the city closer to 300, 400 million per
Mhm.
year. That is how we able to accomplish 3 garbage trucks, 3 tractor and trailer. Because we accomplish tools, we accomplish computers, we accomplish other material and resources to benefit the staff of the main city council, equip them so that they can go there and do their work. Many
Yeah.
people don't be aware of this act. I encourage the public to get a copy of it and read it and share it around yourself.
Yeah, and I see. I asked that question because I know there are some studies done in looking into the economics of running the city, and we know that it's way above even those numbers that you called right there. Even the amount that, although what the AP and UFC was given was quite considerable, the city, it costs way more than that, into the billions to run the city a year. This is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here,
No, no,
right?
you're right. You're correct, Crichulo. You know what? People speak about taxes that we collect here. I want the public to be aware that the taxes we collect is chicken feed. The last valuation had done in this city since 1996, and that is unfair to the city council. If you get the next act, chapter 2804, valuation for rating purpose act. This here, viewers, every 5 year, the minister of finance and minister of local government, and I believe the attorney general play a part of it, they ought to upgrade the valuation of the city and the local democratic organs. In 2000, the 31st of December 2007, the then president, um, Barajagdeo, if you see highlighted very clearly, signed an, an addendum to the evaluation of property of rating purpose act, and this addendum is very grateful. Only recently we came across this addendum to this act, giving the city authority to charge the money, and that is the reason why um, we appeal certain clause of the ruling of the Honorable Chief Justice with a
Mhm.
few court matters we
Yeah,
had recently. I want to say to the public that City Council, it's a great place, but if we get the money to do projects and do the service that we can able to deliver,
yeah.
and that has to come from central government and local government and civil society as well. We have to work together for build our city.
Yeah, I know you mentioned there the case that was before Chief Justice, and we know we heard a lot of confusion, a lot of misinformation coming out after that case. That this is with Mr. BPAT. Uh, what I got at the end of it was that Mr. BPAT has to pay his taxes, but some procedural things would have to be done on your end before that is done. Some things will have to be done in the correct manner. My
Not
question,
my end. The chief valuation officer need to do
valuation
his
office.
duty. Yes, the chief valuation, not my end.
Okay, good. So my questions would be then, what do you know, or can you advise us on where that was done? And I know there's another case. I don't know if you can talk about it, but there's another issue that has reared its head with Mr. Bipat. You can take the first question first.
Okay, let me clear this up. The proprietor for Giftland Mall, Mr. Bipat, we got a bone biting for a couple well months, and I don't know him, and I wish not to know him. I'm the mayor, and I met with him, yes, as a team, my team from the city council in 2019 on his taxes, and he admit I have letters he wrote, and we had a back and forth on the interest and so forth. However, Mr. Bipat never pay any tax to this council. I want to make that very clear. In back in the years when that discussion in 2019 I had, I believe he paid $2 million on his account, and I think that was it. However, the chief justice ruling, it is that the procedure, the chief valuation officer need to do the follow the laws to value his property. And I can tell you right now, if you go down to Gifland Mall right now, there are few people who send me photos that he is doing construction work without the rightful approval of the mayor, city council, central housing and planning authority, all these agency. Mr. Bipat had breached the laws of this country, and a notice was sent to him by the city engineer, which was told to me by the city engineer, and he not complying. I believe he has 21 days to remove that structure. There's no proper approval. I want to know if people with money in this country can break the laws of this country. And I don't know why, when the smaller people or the poorer class people want to do something in their life to better their life, they're the one who are being suffer in this country. But the people who have money, they are the top there. They nobody tells them anything. Well, I
Yeah.
wouldn't stick that nonsense. I have nothing to say to Mr. Bipat. Let everything go to the hands of the court. And this is no political agenda. I want to clear that up. I'm fighting for the people of the city. The rightful money should be paid to the city council. They cannot say they're business people and they want to do things their way and not to follow the laws of this country. And no one is saying anything. But I am planning to engage government again about this valuation act. If government are not willing is not willing to move forward to have a valuation update in the city, I will take government to court and let the court give an order so that this valuation act must come in the right place, must act upon. You can't have an and you preaching about taxes and so on. You have investors coming in this country and the poor Guyanese people suffering here, having investors, huge business people don't want to pay their taxes. So I have nothing to say to Mr. Bipat or the proprietor of Giflan Mall. I have nothing to say to him. Um, Let the court deal with these matters, and at the long term, he will pay double amount of money to the city council. Double amount he will have to pay.
Mr. Mayor, I want to turn attention. I know that a while back you had engaged the private sector in an effort to rehabilitate the city hall building. I don't know if anything came out of that, and where is that right now?
Look, I said this before and I will say it now. The private sector, it's a mini political party, right? It's a mini political party. And by extension, I will say, I don't know. It may sound silly, but I don't know if it's an arm of the PPP, right? And the private sector had promised the city council many things since I took office. We signed MOU. We recently had a meeting for introduction of an industrial rate in the city. We again ought to sign an MOU. We need to get going with the business of the city. Nothing is not coming from the private sector end. There's one of the statutory signatory of the account of the restoration of City Hall building. The private sector is not paying any interest on that, neither. Look, I am doing my part as mayor. The councils are doing their part, but we are not getting the that support from the private sector nor central government. I fed up with promises. I have tremendous respect um, for the private sector, but it seems the private sector don't have respect for the city council. I met with the president, and I said this before that I ready to put aside all differences to work with any government for the betterment of the people of the city, for development of the city. And I don't believe that the government wants something better than that. I
Yeah.
have a team and I'm ready to work. But it seems that government is not coming around and promises. I just don't able to deal with promises. And I must let the public know what is happening exactly. And I don't want the president to feel, oh, the mayor city council don't want to work along with him. You have to talk to the guy he has as a minister for local government at Duke Street. Sorry, in Kingston, Fourth Street, Kingston.
Mhm.
I don't believe the guy know what he's doing. The audit is going on at the city council. I don't know what the outcome, but they're not auditing city council. No, they're auditing 2019 and 2020. They're auditing me. They're auditing the mayor.
Mhm.
So I don't know what they're gonna find upon me, but I can say my hands are very clean, and everything this council do went through the right process and procedure.
Yeah. Part of the question, that the same minister. I call him the tin pot dictator, Damlal, would have posed was that there were monies not only given to the council under the APNUSC, but the council would have raised monies through tax collection, and he had asked, where are these monies? Why is it that almost saying, look, why do we need to give you money when you're supposed to have money?
Now, if we supposed to have money, the council, I don't know if the public can remember when Professor Rose, the IMC, a guy that Cherry, the Dr. Cherry Jagan had placed in city council years ago in the 90s, stated that city council cannot run on rates and taxes alone. They didn't read that report. I read it, and if this act is not coming forward, is that they're not doing the right thing, or follow this act, the valuation act. Therefore, how the city council gonna run? You have big store, 3, 4 story building in this city. Everyday building going up at Houston, in Kingston, in Lilliandale, all this area use building is going up, and the same very people are paying 10,000, 12,000, 20,000, 25,000 a year in taxes. What nonsense are we encouraging as a government, as a minister? Those property, when it rebuild and so on, ought to have new valuation so that your taxes will be increased according to the valuation. And many people don't know. People thought that the city council just assess you. No, the valuation office has to do a valuation on your property, and that paper come to the city council, and we apply our rates on that valuation. So the valuation came from government, not us. The chief valuation officer is controlled by government, not the mayor city council. When that valuation come to us, then we apply our rate, whatever may be the valuation. We apply whether residential or commercial or institutional rates. So these things need to be out there so people can understand very clearly. The city cannot function, cannot run alone on rates and taxes. We cannot move. Which city in this world run alone on taxes? What craziness the minister or whoever saying these things. Look, research Port of Spain, research the city in Jamaica, Barbados. Research, you want to, people claim, oh, the city of Georgetown should be like New York City, Toronto City. Research those city, the laws are different, policies are different, and they operate different. We have a law which we operate and bylaws in the 19th centuries. How can these things be applicable in the 24th centuries? It is the government to reform these laws, which I wrote the Attorney General on it.
Yeah. Um, Listen, may I understand your frustration, and trust me, the people of Georgetown, I think, understand because they are a part of it. They are in the middle of it. They're feeling the effects of what is happening there at the city council. And we sincerely hope that this government is listening. We know we saw that meeting with the president, and you're saying now that that money is yet to be forthcoming. So I don't know where does the city go from here, and what would you want to leave with these citizens as we wrap up?
Look, since the government took office, only 2 million Guyana dollars we get to know. The 2
Wow,
million Guyana dollars, less than 10,000 US.
wow.
That is what we get to fight COVID-19. The city currently managing the affairs by itself. Look at the city right now with garbage. I said to the Southways director, Mr. Narayan, he needs strategy. He need to get on the going with these kind of garbage in the city. And I must let you know that we are working with the different committees of the council to see how we could tackle garbage. But garbage issue is not only the council issue, it is everyone issue, including central government, because you know what? The diplomats, high commissioners, the ministry, the office of the president, all of those offices within the city of Georgetown. It is not the city alone has to deal with this. We need something called National Solid Waste Management Plan to deal with garbage holistically. There's a study had done in 2013 and 14 by the IDB, which the government has that study, and they should act upon that. Trinidad implemented, Barbados had implemented it, Jamaica had implemented it. Why Guyana can't do the same? Are we that lack of common sense, or lack of knowledge, which we should really take the IDB views and run with it? And the IDB, they are willing to fund these projects, because garbage is something that we need to pay close attention to, because there can be disease, a virus can imitate from these landfill and our surrounding, so it's a health hazard as well. I want to let the people of Georgetown know, the public know, the city council has your interests. We working in your favor, the people favor. You have a mayor. Myself will continue to work for the people of the city without fear or favor. I will uphold my oath of office. Cause it what? I will uphold my oath. I will stand by the people. I will stand by the vendors until we're able to put system and policies and laws in place. Then we can able to look at changes in our city. But for now, we need to work as together as sit on a round table and move forward. I want to
Yeah.
encourage the viewers that this city is struggling to fight COVID-19. No help from central government. No help from central government. We are continue to paddle and steer our ship by ourselves, and we have no fear of doing so to stand up for the people of the city.
Right. Thank you very much for that, and I'm sure that the people of Georgia who are looking right now are behind you in your quest to ensure that things are done the correct way, and that there's some sort of movement forward. And I hear you loud and clear. I hope that the government is hearing you. Your willingness to work with them, right, for the betterment of the city. Whether or not they are willing to do the same is questionable. Mayor Ubraj Ryan, your worship, thank you very much for being a part of the rush this afternoon. We hope that you don't be a stranger to the show.
I I hope so too. If I am, yes, it will be great to
Yeah.
let people know what is happening in the city here.
All right. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest
Thank
of
you
the day.
very much, Krichu. Thanks for everything. Thanks, viewers. Have a safe one. Do stay safe.
Right. Right. Folks, if you're now joining us, we were chatting there with the mayor of Georgetown, Mr. Ubraj Narain, giving us a rundown of what is happening there at the city council. Of course, having their troubles with central government and being able to, surprising to hear the numbers coming out there. Numbers like 10 and 25,000 for these big buildings and taxes, $2 million alone from this government so far. Uh, you know, the $10 million and the $30 million for this year, as opposed to about $300 million under the AP and UEFC. Folks, we have to understand, like the mayor said, that these monies go towards solid waste management, garbage collection, a number of other things that the city has to do. And you have that, and then it's compounded by the fact that, look, you know the government isn't giving you, and then of course they're not working on assessing these properties so that these business people can pay their fair share in taxes. It is quite an interesting situation playing out there at the city council, and we'll of course continue to follow that story. Moving on, folks, today we saw protest. Like many other days, we know that protest is a normal thing in Guyana now. Under the PPP, protest is an everyday occurrence. Today, it was the workers of GPL who are protesting, right, for a full settlement of their salary increase negotiations. And this is an interesting scenario playing out here at GPL, because I want to dig a little deep into it, because we had some information coming to us about what exactly is happening at GPL. And I want to be able to share that information with you. We saw today persons protesting. And I want to bring you a bit of the protests, and then we'll come back and talk about the persons involved in this in the cause for the protests. Let's bring what we shared with you earlier today in our breaking news. Right.
Why are you out here this morning, this afternoon? Well, I'm out here to press the cause that the rights of workers being respected in Guyana. We are represented by a union who bargained for us. There is an agreement within management of this company, GPL, and the bargaining body, the union. But to date, this new management have not been respecting the union in terms of the bargaining. We have a collective bargain agreement, and it has been violated. It has been violated. Yes. So we are calling upon management to respect the bargaining agreement that they have with the union, so that workers' rights can be represented. And how much pay are you calling for? We are calling for at least 8%. According to my understanding, directors have been given 12%, but nothing to the workers. So we are asking for at least 8%. How long are you going to keep up this protest? How long as long as it's possible. Thank you, sir. We have another young man here who is one of the organizers.
There, of course, one of the protesters making their voices heard there. Let's go
Do
back.
more for themselves and less for their staff, whereas directors are being paid increasing their salaries automatic without any you know negotiations or fight, as we would want to say. And that percentage is being set to be somewhere around 12%. We are also seeing the company purchasing new vehicles for set directors who are not, um, in some opinions, don't need a vehicle. Some of them already have vehicles, but they're driving new sports model vehicles. And these things are affecting the staff because we're told one story, and that story is you don't have money, you can't afford increases, and yet you're doing opposite. You're spending more money on things that are not even related to the pandemic, such as the purchase of a new vehicle. And it is time that we talk about these issues and that we have the media being the fourth estate do what is called investigative journalism. Don't take it from me. Don't take it from me. Go ahead, seek meetings with the very people, investigate the claims that are made. People have on their placards, directors are being paid 12% automatic increases in their salaries. If I were you, I would have immediately gone over there and asked to speak with some of them because several of them sit right in that building. You can investigate those claims. We're saying that they're driving sport model vehicles. Well, you don't really have to do much investigation. It's parked right across there. So you can decide for yourselves how you want the story to be told. But this is our truth, and we need to see action.
Now, I know that you would have been seeing other protests across the country. Recently, the sugar workers, they have been calling for an increase in salary. And you would have seen the vice president gave them, I think it's over 200 something $1 million to their cry. You're calling for the same thing, or
We
even more.
are equally important as the sugar workers. We have been affected, and we are all Guyanese. And I will support the sugar workers in their strike. And likewise, I would like for them to support us in our strike. And the same level of urgency that is given to them, we would appreciate if the Vice President, His Excellency, and others who are in charge can come on board and give us that same level of urgency into our cry. GPL employs little under 2,000 people. It wouldn't be very difficult.
For you. Sorry about that, folks. Mic was off. But you heard from two GPL workers there who are making their case about the increase that they're demanding. They're demanding at least 8% increase. Let's just bring this back up here for those persons who are now joining us. We're talking about the situation unfolding there at GPL, right? Where the workers are protesting for the increase in salary. Folks, I want to bring you a little bit on this story because uh, they are claiming that directors were given 12% automatic increase. They're in negotiation right now and asking for 8%, and the company is saying that they can't give them. Additionally, and this is the interesting part, as we talk about corruption, this economics of corruption that we've seen by the PPP government. As we talk about that corruption, Mr. Jagadar, Maurice Jagadar, who is the chairman of the board, Maurice Jagadar, who is the chairman of the board, has approved the purchase of several new Kia motor vehicles for these directors. The problem with that is that Mr. Maurice Jagadar, who is the chairman of GPL, right, is also a representative for Kia Motors in Guyana. And just a little digging, just a little digging. We like here at the show like to ensure that we're giving you credible and valid information. We like to ensure that we're giving you credible and valid information. So we did a little digging, and if you look it up, you see here Kia Motors Inc. If you look at the bottom, it says address, telephone number, fax, email, and managing. Maurice Jagadar, same name, same man who is approving these purchases from his position of influence at GPL, approving these purchases of these Kia motor vehicles for the directors. He is basically self-dealing here, using his position at GPL to basically fund this company. The conflict of interest is very ripe here. And these are the sort of corrupt activities and act that we highlight daily by it, under this administration and the people that they would put to these boards. It's right there. You can see it. It's clear. Let me bring it up so you can see it better. It is very, very clear right there. Folks, it is sad that this is happening in our country. Right? Very, very sad. So we see the clear conflict of interest. We see Mr. the chairman of GCOM, who is now dealing with protesting workers who would have been approving these sales of these vehicles to GPL. He's basically, listen, I'm going to use my influence here to get some sales for this business. These are corrupt acts. It may be deemed as corrupt acts, but of course, there's such a free-handed approach by this government to any sort of corruption. And this weekend will continue. We will continue to talk about what is happening at Guy Oil. This is a GPL, but what is happening at Guy Oil? We'll continue to talk about that. That is this culture of corruption that pervades. It seems to be, part and parcel of the personality of the PPP, the politics and the economics of corruption, the economics of kickbacks and inside deals. Folks, we have been highlighting this. Every single day we see another corrupt act piled upon another, piled upon another. We have listed to you all the various industries, and we call it the racket in every sector. Every single sector. Folks, the GPL workers are crying out for their increase. And I will hold my tongue today because I want to give the government the benefit of the doubt. Whether they deserve it is a different kettle of fish. But I want to give them the benefit of the doubt and give them a few days and see whether or not they will respond to the GPL workers with the same level of speed and alacrity that they responded to the Gaisuko workers and suddenly found 200 million, 200 plus million, saying, look, these are money that they were supposed to be paid anyhow, so we can give them it. After the CEO, Mr. Turnaround Sugar says, Narayan Turnaround Sugar Singh, said that, look, we don't have any money, or y'all get the audacity for ask for money. Right? Swoop, Jack Dale comes in and give them the 200 million. You know, he's a savior. Let's see if they will be the savior of the people at GPL who are protesting today. And what about the nurses who are protesting for months for the removal of one man? One man that the Minister of Health could have just transferred. Folks, let us not lose sight of this story, though. I digress, but I digress with good reason. Yes, the CEO of GPL, who's also here listed as managing, right? Managing this company that sells these Kia motor vehicles, approving the sale of these to the same company that he's the CEO of. Something is not right about that. And we have to ask these questions. Something smells a little fishy there. Like many other things in this PVP government. Folks, this is what we see daily. This is what we see daily. Right now, I want to jump right into what we like to call on our show, our Rush show, the story behind the story. We want to bring to you the story behind the story. In our story behind the story today, we are going to be dealing with the marijuana legislation that is still pending. I know this is a topic that may, you know, rear up a lot of debate and conversation. But let us talk legalization of marijuana. Let us talk the marijuana legislation and where we are with it. Of course, I think it was 2018, the APNU AFC had tabled a suggestion to legalize, I think it was 30 grams of marijuana, decriminalize the possession of a certain amount of marijuana in Guyana. And of course, this is a long battle between those persons who are pushing for legalization. Recently in Parliament, we heard a debate, we heard a very lively debate, both sides saying, like, look, we are supportive of this thing. The AP and UAFC pushing for 500 grams. I think the PVP were pushing for a little less. But ever since, we have heard nothing about where that is, whether it is stalled. We don't know whether the bill is on the desk of the Minister of Home Affairs and the Minister of Health. We do not know, and we would like information on this issue. Legalization is, very, very important. Our country spends millions of dollars policing and prosecuting persons for the possession, the sale, and the trafficking of marijuana. I want you to understand this. I'm just talking about the economics here on the state. That we spend millions of dollars policing, prosecuting, incarcerating persons. When you incarcerate them, you have to take care of them in the prison. Persons who are in possession of marijuana. Sometimes people are arrested for a little spliff. The APNU AFC went a far way in relaxing that in terms of that the arrest for what we call a spliff. Because it costs the state millions of dollars to take care of you when you had something in your hand worth $200. So there's an economic side of this that we want to explore this afternoon. I want to just share with you this here. So we saw this in the newspapers recently, right? We saw this issue. Riverton man held by Kanu, 57 pounds of marijuana. Kanu, again, one of those agencies that would police the people producing and growing this marijuana, of course. And we also saw where every other day we find marijuana fields and we burn them and we spend a whole lot of money policing, as I said, and enforcing and incarcerating persons for this marijuana. The Ghana Police Force during an eradication exercise on Sunday destroyed 2 ganja farms in Berbice River. The exercise took place between 7 hours and resulted in elimination of 108,000 pounds of cannabis sativa being destroyed. Folks, this is what we're seeing daily in our country. As we are doing this, countries around the world are making money. But I should not be surprised because Guyana seems to be a place where we like to put money into things that don't make money. And I want to draw the parallels here because on one hand, we have billions of dollars going into sugar that makes no money. On this hand, we have millions of dollars being spent to destroy and police and incarcerate persons from something that you could be making money for, something that if you decriminalize it and tax it and regulate it, you will be able to make money. It is a sad situation, a very, very sad situation, right? So, and I want to, in our story behind the story, play for you a video. The state of Colorado in the United States of America was one of the first to legalize recreational sale and use of marijuana for persons who are of adult age. And this story was done 5 years after their experience. And folks, it's very interesting to see because when we're doing studies and when we're talking about social issues, it's important to have empirical evidence. You must have some evidence to lean on to so you can draw some sort of conclusion. We can't sit up and say, you know what, decriminalize marijuana and you will make money, and we have no evidence that it will work. But there's actual empirical data to show you that decriminalization, regularization, and taxation, they all work in line to bring in billions of dollars for these territories that have legalized this thing. So I want to play for you this video and take a close look and listen, and we'll talk about a few of the other things on the other side. I think we should be playing.
So it's been 5 years since Colorado became the first state to legalize recreational marijuana, infusing the drug into politics and everyday life. The New York Times article Reefer Madness or Pot Paradise, ? The surprising legacy of the place where legal weed began, examines the impacts of legalization on the state that we're seeing now. The author of that article is New York Times national correspondent Jack Healy, joining me now from Boulder, Colorado. Thanks for joining me. This was a really interesting article.
Yeah, thanks so much.
So I go back, 5 years, and I think about all the concerns that were popping up when Colorado was about to legalize marijuana, especially the kids. As my dad would say, the kids are going to start smoking those funny cigarettes, and they won't go to school, and there'll be, concerns about people driving while under the influence, and everyone will become sort of a layabout. But what have you learned about the impacts of this legalization of recreational marijuana, particularly on the young people of Colorado?
Well, I think your dad's concerns were really reflected in the concerns of public health officials and doctors and everybody else who had, worries about this.
Right. Folks, we're having a little issue with the video, but we want to bring you some of the details coming out of that.
as the criminal justice system. And the number of people who were behind bars because of marijuana related crimes, sometimes low amounts
Yep.
of marijuana. And the idea was that this would sort of fix that. What many people saw as an injustice. You have this really great graph as part of the article where you show, marijuana arrests from 2012 to 2017 separated by race. And what you really see is, in particular, black teenagers. There's that graph, this huge spike in black teenagers being nabbed for marijuana related arrests, and then things just plummet. There's still a discrepancy when it comes to the races, but there's it looks like things are equaling out a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. So again, talking there about the reduction in arrests when it relates to marijuana and the pressures on the state. Let's just bring back a little more for you before we go to another picture. Let me show you what I wanted to show you, folks. I'm following the comments here of one of our viewers, Miss Denise Munderson, who says that it is legal in Canada. Yes, and what I'm showing you on the screen right now, of course, in Canada, it is illegal to buy marijuana. There are marijuana shops. And of course, you have to be over the age of 19. Once you're over the age of 19, it's illegal. And the numbers are staggering, folks. The numbers are staggering. In terms of entrepreneurship, the creation of small business, the revenues and taxation from those small business, the taxation paid on the actual product, the numbers are in the billions as it relates to this industry, which is still growing in the country because many of the countries have not, um, legalized it a while now. It only has been, in the last 5 years or so. But what I'm showing you here is how this issue can be turned around in our country. And I'm just giving you some food for thought. I'm giving, of course, those legislators in our country some food for thought as we move forward and we try to bring Guyana. The mayor of Georgetown just now was asking, why are we seeming that we seem to be so backwards? But again, I will ask the question, where is this legislation? And of course, I'm going to continue to push our lawmakers to ensure that we stop wasting money and trying to police and incarcerate people when you could use the product to ensure that you gain, the country gains. Folks, that is our story behind the story today. I want to, of course, invite you to be a part of this conversation. Let us know in the comment section how you feel. Let us know in the comment section how you feel about the legalization or decriminalization of marijuana in Guyana. I want to read your comments to those persons before we leave. Of course, we're close to program time, but I want to be able to read your comments. Let us know your thoughts on the legalization of this particular product. Right. Let us know. Give us a word in the comment. Do you think that this is something that we need to push for in our country? Do you believe that it will eradicate some of the problems that we have and some of the wastage that we have in terms of right? Denise is saying yes, legalize it, because we want to be able to have an idea of these social issues and how people feel about this. We, of course, would have highlighted many years ago that the arrest and incarceration of young people for the possession of this thing and you basically turn them into criminals when you send them into the prison system for basically a spliff, right? A non-violent offense, and they go in there and they intermingle in all of these violent criminals, right? Joyanne Hooper Beckles says that persons traveling with marijuana products should know the law of other jurisdictions when they're traveling with the products in your possession, especially your containers or your bags or whatever. This is true. You ought to know the law because you might be coming from a territory and going this is legal, and you're entering into another territory. And this is another issue that comes up. you have to be aware of the law where you are so that you don't get in trouble. But what are your thoughts, folks? Joining us from all over the world, let us know. Let us know what you think. What you think. Right. Royston Simpson said to eradicate anything in Guyana, we first need to educate the PPP as well. Oh boy. Thank you very much. Keep your comments coming, folks. Somebody is saying here that I don't think they should push for legalization. Let me see if I can get that here. No, that's coming from another page. I don't think that they should push for legalization of marijuana unless there is some amount of control by law. Of course, that should be in place. We're saying decriminalization has to be, of course, on par with what the laws are. There must be some sort of regulatory thing in place, some policy in place to ensure that when it is legalized or decriminalized, that of course persons of a certain age will still be, it will still be legal for certain persons of a certain age to buy it. The government should legalize it like most Caribbean countries. It would reduce the heavy burden taxpayers' money in jail for the persons in jail. I think that's a very interesting comment. As I said, thousands, millions of dollars are being spent every day to police this. Right? Again, if it's not a large amount, it should be illegal. For example, a spliff. This is Mr. Roberts commenting here. Right? Thank you very much for your comments. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. Keep your comments coming as we give you an opportunity to share your views on the show today. Before we end, we want to say thank you very much for joining. We normally, of course, only go an hour. We give you a chance right now to share your comments on the show about the legalization of or the decriminalization of certain quantities of marijuana in the country. Joanne is saying that I don't think that it should legalize it. We have enough persons. Well, she's saying enough junkies here, but I mean, there is no evidence to support this Joanne, that marijuana is actually more dangerous than any of the other things that are in the market. Quite an interesting bit of information, though, if I would share with you that there's evidence to show that when marijuana is legalized, there is no increased use. The usage is not increased when it is legalized. And this is, of course, from empirical data from places and territories that would have implemented this law to legalize it. The data shows that there is no increase. So the reality is that tells you that persons are using it right now. And especially when something is so readily available in the market, persons will use it. So the persons that are using it right now are the same persons that will continue to use it. All right. So there's no evidence to show that there will be some sort of increase and everybody can start to smoke it somehow. The people who want to smoke it are smoking it. The people who want to use it are using it. Right? Operation Eradicate. Right. Roy McKenzie says cocaine is the problem. Again, thank you very much for sharing your comments. Private health sector should to turn on to the medical side of it for medical issues. The government could get taxes from it and medical business. Right. Thank you very much for your comments. We're going to give you about a minute more in the show. So if you want to comment on any of the issues we spoke about today, drop it in the comment. I'll read it, let you know. Again, thank you very much as we wind down our show today. We hope that you had a very productive day. We hope that you continue to have a productive evening. Right. Joyanne said, okay, Randy, I see. Yes, that is it, Joyanne. The issue is, and I'm happy that we're having this conversation because there are a lot of misconceptions, but the evidence is there. This thing is readily available in most countries. Most countries. And the people who you want to use it are not waiting until it's legal to use it. They are using it right now. So legalization wouldn't see some surge of more new people using it. Because if you don't use it and it is legal, you won't go use it because that's not your preference. Right? Pharmaceuticals, right? Help for clothes. Thank you very much. And blocks or building homes. Right. So I think we'll take those comments and we'll thank the persons who commented. Thank you very much for being a part of the program and joining the discussion before we leave. My name is Randolph Critchlow. Join Sherrod Duncan at 8 this evening for In the Ring. As I normally say to you, let's continue working together for national development and do enjoy the rest of your evening. Stay safe.